Hello, and welcome back to my shelter dog series where I have been going to the shelters and working with dogs on whatever they need to be worked on with, depending on where they're at in their training journey. So I'm just meeting dogs where they're at and helping them with the next steps in training, whatever that might look like. So this is Tessa. She's a 1.5-year-old shepherd, and so I've just been told she's pretty pushy, pretty excitable, just generally. And the first thing I'm doing, I think all shelter dogs would benefit from this exercise, especially our really pushy ones, because there's limited dopamine in the shelter environment usually. A huge hit of dopamine dogs get is from coming out of thresholds and also food, but thresholds is a big one. So anytime a dog goes through a door, I like to stop and make sure that they just can see me. So I'm waiting right here for calm, quiet eye contact. She's trying to sneak through and say, just let me out, open the door, I want out. And I would just like to have a moment of connection with her before that happens. So I'm just basically waiting for calm, quiet eye contact. It's kind of like the dog's way to say please and thank you. And there she goes. She gave it to me. It was very quick, but she did it. So I am going to take that as the correct response. I'm going to do the same thing through this threshold. So I'm just going to wait for her. She might try to leave because honestly, this can get pretty frustrating. So some dogs will just try to leave. My job is to just be patient, help her out as much as I can. There she goes. That one was much quicker than the first time. Usually the first time you do this will be the longest time that you have to wait for the dog to find you. So I'm going to go into the yes game. I just tossed a treat and she is having some trouble finding it. She's too interested in me. And what I'd like her to do is engage her nose just a little bit more to go find that treat. I'm not going to take it personally that she's jumping, that she's rowdy. She's just not going to get anything from me. She's not going to get a treat or eye contact or talking because negative attention is still attention. So anytime she's going out and hitting that end of the leash, I'm just kind of holding my ground, maybe even taking a step back. When she looks at me, I say yes and give a treat. I'm kind of alternating between, I do want her to use her nose, but I also want her to kind of think a little bit and build a little bit more connection. So I'm alternating a little bit between handing her the treat calmly and also tossing it on the ground, because sometimes tossing on the ground can make the dog a little bit more frantic and still forget about you. So all this jumping, I'm going to start to correct here. Now, she's a dog who gets pretty frustrated. I'm just keeping my hips towards her, my toes pointed towards her, and thinking about taking her space as she's jumping into me. So right there, moving into her space, not taking it personally, keeping my hips pointed towards her as much as possible, so that I'm kind of separating. I have a treat in my hand. I'm separating her from the treat with my hip and my body and my presence. And I'm trying to catch her very quickly before she goes into that frustrated jumping up motion. So when she looks at me, I want to yes her as soon as I can before she gets frustrated and jumps up. Because she doesn't really know why she's jumping. I mean, maybe it's gotten her attention in the past or she's just, overstimulated. But I want to kind of reward her before she gets to that point, because that is kind of what she defaults to. And if we get in this kind of, we've just met each other, and if we get into this battle here of me correcting her and her trying to correct me, and both of us just kind of competing with each other, it's going to lead to a lot of frustration, which you will actually see later in this clip here. So now we're just going into our yes game with movement. So we walk forward, walk backward, yes, and drop a treat. And I'm just kind of trying to get her to engage with me, keep myself pretty boring. Though shepherds, I find, like to move. They don't like it. If you've watched my other video with Bo, I moved quite slow with him. Shepherds like to move. They want direction. They want clear instructions. They want to know exactly what the rubric says, and they want to start to move forward and take action. So with Bo, I was pretty slow and tried to help him kind of regulate. With her, there's a little bit more black and white and catching things very early. So just walking forward. When she gets ahead of me, I'm backing up, or she hits the end of the leash, I'm backing up. And sometimes I think I'm starting to take her off of the treat to help just kind of see if I can slow her down and get her to think. Oh, we're going to do a sit. Okay. So lifting straight up, and I'm waiting, thinking about hovering my hand over her hip and then relaxing when she goes into a sit. And just kind of taking a break. Now she came out of it. I'm going to ask for it again because it was a little just, I don't know, she jumped up with a little bit too much energy, so I'm asking for it again. Just very gently tapping. She doesn't love this. She just turned her head around really quick to think about kind of maybe telling me to stop it. But I'm just kind of staying very light with her, very gentle, very sweet, and trying to engage her and reward her as much as possible ahead of time before we get into these like frustrated behaviors. So keeping things nice and simple. I'm going to come back to the sit, but I'm going to do this while she's calm rather than wait till she's super frustrated to use it as much as possible. Now, she's just super motivated by anything and everything that's not me as well. So this might be another good candidate to do some of our place board exercises, which I will talk about in future videos. And I'm going to start to turn towards her. This is where she gets pretty frustrated. So there I tried to turn towards her and cut her off, and she did not like that. She ran right out ahead of me. Now we're getting into just kind of some frustrated behaviors, but I'm going to do my best to just kind of keep her with me, keep her on my side. I'm asking her to be on my left side by kind of manipulating where I'm walking. Yeah, she doesn't want me being on or turning towards her as much. Dogs like to use their space to communicate, and if my space pushes into her space, then she is going to be more likely to kind of protest that. And I'm just trying to help her stay on my left side by manipulating where I'm standing in relationship to her. So here she goes to my right side, and I just push her over. And right about there, that's where she goes to nip me just a little bit. If you've watched the last about minute of work, we're getting a little elevated in what we're asking her to do, and she's getting more and more frustrated. So she just kind of took a nip at me, just on my thigh. It wasn't her fault. She was frustrated, and I didn't quite catch how frustrated she was getting in the moment. As I'm watching it back, I understand how frustrated she's getting, and a little bit overstimulated. This is nothing like what she's usually being asked for, the level of mental exercises that she's being asked for regularly in the shelter. And so she's just kind of looking for somebody to take a little bit more time to have some fun with her. So I'm asking her for a sit, very gently, very calmly. She's kind of shutting down just a little bit, that she's saying, this is really hard. I'm having a hard time, and I don't think I can do this right now. So I'm not going to like sit there and like shove her butt into the ground. I can be patient. I can take a little break, and then we can come back to it later. But maybe just moving her around, keeping her on the same page. She's super interested in my shoes. I'm not sure why, but sometimes, yeah, she says, no, thank you, please don't touch my hip. And I'm going to say, that's okay. I don't have to touch your hip, but you do need to sit. So I think there I just smooched a little bit to bring her nose up, because if the nose goes up, the hip sometimes goes down. Giving her a couple treats just because, you know, we're trying to mend a relationship a little bit. I pushed her a little too hard. She told me what she felt about it. And while we don't want to encourage any dogs to nip or anything like that, it was communication on her end after she'd asked me several times for a little bit more space. So now we're going into the yes game, trying to stay ahead of the frustration. So when she looks at me, tossing a treat. Now, because she kind of liked the chase there, I'm doing the yes and tossing the treat. Some dogs really, really like to chase the treat and do the yes game like they're chasing it. Other dogs prefer to be hand-fed with this game, but that's pretty much how we're going to end it. Keep things nice and calm on a good note, because I did frustrate her quite a bit. It can be really challenging, though, with our shelter dogs, because there's this balancing act of it would make her more adoptable if we could get some of these really pushy behaviors to stop, and she would thrive if she was just structured a little bit more and had, honestly, the appropriate exercise requirements that she needs. But there's just limited time, money, and resources in shelters, and so she's a friendly dog. She wants to be good. I see nothing but like wanting to please, but she's just kind of understimulated, underfulfilled, and understructured. So this is just something that we would need to continue to work on. I do think she's a super smart dog, and she's absolutely going to thrive if somebody can give her that lifestyle. Because look at how much shorter of a time it takes her to make calm, quiet eye contact here as it did in the first part of the video. So she's super smart. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more.